Hey, we're back at it again, and today we're on book 83. And as you all know, this is the YOML show, the year of magical learning. For those of you who are new, hit subscribe and hit the bells and all that other YouTube stuff. If you want to continue to follow us. But we have book 83 today, and I think Chris might like this one.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, this one's I don't know if I want to call this one a special book, but I think I know why you're saying that.
I mean the
because,
reflection. I think the
yeah, right,
reflection aligns with one of your core values.
right, yeah. So the for sure. So the book today that we're going to be talking about is it's a book called Never Quit by the author Glenn Cunningham. And Glenn Cunningham, do you know who that is? Do you have any idea who Glenn Cunningham is?
No, haven't heard of him.
So this is an autobiography by a guy named Glenn Cunningham. He was a record-breaking track star in the 1930s. So I think he was an Olympian. He was like one of the world's fastest like miler runners, back in like the 1930s. And he has a really interesting story where he was actually really severely burned in a schoolhouse fire as a kid. Like really severely burned, like his whole body was like burned, like bad. He almost died. His brother died in the schoolhouse fire as well. And I think he ran home. The story is about like his life and his own autobiography of his childhood, surviving that, having his brother pass away, all that he went through to recover through this. And the only reason he ended up starting to run, actually, ironically, was because it hurt so bad to walk. When he was, when he could finally get out of the bed after like 3 or 4 months of like burns healing and everything, he was like, it just hurt so bad to take every step. And for some weird reason, running felt a little bit better than walking. So he would run everywhere that he went, and then compound effect took its place. And obviously everything that he learned of enduring through that, and he ended up becoming like an Olympian, and overcame a lot of challenges of where he came from, like which was like a really rural area and poverty, and yada yada yada, to become somebody that actually started like a youth camp. Like he bought like this ranch in retirement, and he would host like these kids youth camps for like troubled youth and things like that. So he kind of gave back in his own way later on. So it was an interesting biography, interesting story. The reason why I found this book in particular was because one of my personal core values is never quit. And I was literally looking for a book, that could align to that. Right. And I'd actually heard of this book through Darren Hardy on one of his daily mentoring Darren Dailies. And sounded like an interesting book. It actually was really hard to find this book. This is probably the most expensive book that I've ever purchased.
Really?
I think it was like $85 or something like that for this book, because I had to buy like I don't think they print it anymore because it's a pretty old book. So this is kind of a special book that I found, I guess, and was excited to read it, and I'm happy I went through the story and learned about Glenn's life in general. So on to the reflection though. My reflection title is I will never quit on something that I value. And what this whole story made me think about actually was when I was sitting in the NICU next to my daughter. One of the books I was reading during that time was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. We've talked about in the past. And in that book, I know you've read that one as well, but in that book he talks about what's your personal brand, right? As I was sitting next to my daughter, I stopped on that question, and it was just something, I had a lot of time on my hands in the NICU, and it was something that was a question that was provocative to me. And I was like, what is my personal brand? Like, if somebody ever meets Chris Sears, like what do I want them to walk away feeling, remembering, thinking when they interact with me, I guess, just in general. So I spent a lot of time just writing down a bunch of stuff in my journal, writing down a bunch of like just ideas that came to mind. It was things like grit, came to mind, like persistence. For me, I'm like an eternal optimist. Passionate, ball of energy. Like these are things that I kept thinking about myself, but then I was like, that none of them. Every time I wrote them down, I was like, something just doesn't align here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember looking at Amelia and looking at what she was going through and enduring and fighting and never quitting. And I don't know why the words came to me, and then just inspired by Amelia's fight. And I was like, and never quit. That's it. That's the essence that I want to leave. Anybody that ever encounters me someday is to know that, look, I'm never going to be the best at something. Like, that's not my goal. Balance is an important other core value of my life, but once I start something, and once there's something that I found that I value in this world, like, I will never quit on it. And that is a personal promise that I've made to myself, to Amelia, to anybody else. And I'm making it publicly now, and through this writing. If there's something that I care about, I don't care what trials I have to go through, what I have to endure through. As long as it aligns to something that's important in my life, I'm going to keep pushing through, and I'm going to keep enduring. I'll never quit. So whether that's a personal relationship, whether that's a professional relationship, whether that's, clubbing, whether it's, other things like any of my core values, like those are things that I'm personally, dedicating myself to and committing publicly that I'm never going to give up on that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess at a high level, the Glenn's story of, somebody that I didn't really know a whole lot about, and listening to his kind of own I can't imagine event, and how he persevered and never quit, sparked that thought into me of, of never quitting in my own life, and making that a part of my personal brand. I know that you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. It's actually now morphed into the Clubany of shared values of endure, that we can talk about in a second here, which I actually really love, because never quit doesn't tell you the whole side of the story. But for the essence of this reflection, it's for me, like, when I think of never quitting, I think of never quitting on something that I really value and care about, and that's all about Amelia. So yeah,
Right.
I'll pause there and love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so I really love the fact that you added the never quit on something I value, because I think if you stop at never quit, this is where you and I had a long debate about what that word means to each one of us.
Agreed.
And for me, never quit could have a bad connotations that, never quit on things that is not you, right? And so
Right.
to me, that's just, senseless in terms of never quit for what purpose, right? And so I think the something I value added to that makes a whole lot more sense. And because never quit with something you value, that creates the more positive spin on it, and takes it to the enduring. You endure for something that matters to you.
Right. Yeah,
And
you
so that
persist.
brings
We
me,
talked about that with grit yesterday, right?
yes,
You
yeah,
only persist with something you're passionate about. Like, I
right,
mean, those two go hand in hand. It doesn't. You can't separate the two. If you're passionate about something and you value it, you never quit. You persist. You
right,
endure.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that brings me into the next step, which is, what are the things that we value? And the question I have for everybody is, do you know what that is? The reason why I ask that question is because a lot of people that I've come across, you ask them that questions, they say, well, I have never thought about it. And to me, this is a wake-up call. I say, look, you got to take time out and figure it out and think for yourself. What is it that you really, really enjoy? What is it that you really, really value? What it is that matters to you versus what you think people think you should value. And a lot of times, I run into the same, I'm guilty of running into the same trap. If people tell me that, hey, I should be this, I should be that, I should hustle, I should grinds and repeat. I told that all the time. And if that's your value, I got nothing to say. But for me, when I start to try to live up to that value that people say or society hinted that I should do those, it doesn't quite kind of like sit with me in terms of, there's something that, I don't really and can't embrace it. And so,
it's like
only when you start to take time out and reflect on those, then you may find the values.
Right.
I'm not saying people don't, it's just people don't know it.
Oh, everybody has stuff they value. They just don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I would say the majority of people aren't aware of what that is. They haven't spent the time to become aware of it, you know, and to reflect into
and that's a big step. I
it's
mean,
a huge
you
step. I
have
mean,
to be
it's the most
aware.
important step. Like, I mean, like it's the compass of your life, you know. It's the, you know, if you don't have a compass, like that's a big problem. If you do have a compass and it's the wrong compass, that's also a big problem, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are things that are, you know, like I like to think of the idea of the personal brand sentiment as similar to like the question that Viktor Frankl asks in a Man's Search for Meaning of when he's talking about logotherapy after the whole, you know, experience in the concentration camp is through, and the, you know, the question that he would always ask his patients of, like, you know, I think this was in Viktor Frankl's book, when he would like close your eyes, imagine your own funeral, and imagine, you know,
That's in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah. Viktor Frankl did something similar with his patients as well. As like,
right.
You know,
a lot
like,
of these guys borrow
right.
from one another. So
Right. But yeah, but think about your funeral and what do you want people to say? And like that's, for me, that was a big, you know, catalyst to I had to happen to read 7 Habits before I read this book, and when I was in the NICU, and so they kind of went hand in hand with each other. But yeah, I mean, it is something to really think about, of like, what is the lasting impression you want somebody to have when knowing the experience you're being with them in the world, and then beyond, you know. It's like, when I'm gone, like, I'm still never going to quit on my values. Like, I mean, this is why I'm trying to leave a legacy while I'm here of things that'll endure beyond and carry forth, you know, and things. Maybe I can't physically do it, but that doesn't mean that the stuff that I value still won't be, you know, persisting and enduring and hopefully never quitting, you know, and the people that take up that flag. So like it's an important question. So I'm actually kind of curious. Have you ever taken the time and thought about this one of like, I've never asked you this before. What's the personal brand for True?
My personal brand is, you know, I think I like people to think of me as a person who is carefree. I mean, I don't care what people think. I do what I think is right. And I'm that person that, you know, very strong will in terms of finding his own path. Meaning that, for example, like, I don't really care if I make a fool of myself. I don't care. I used to, because that I was conditioned to do. But now that I know my values more, I do things because I think I should do. I think it's right to do,
Right.
and I do them. And when I pass on, I want people to think of me as that guy, make his own path. It is for me, you know, freedom to me, it's very valuable, and to be able to do what you want whenever you want, any way you want it. To me, it's something I'm striving for. And I don't want like no like characteristic of, hey, he's helpful, or he's you know, nice, or he's whatever. I don't care for those. Or he's successful. I don't care for those titles.
Right.
So for me, those titles that I just told you about, I would have cared before I found my core values, because that's what I was told I should be.
Right.
You know, but now people you know, could say, hey, you know, he's useless. Okay, right. I don't care.
Right.
That's your opinion. That's fine. You can do whatever you want to do. If you think that, for me, you know, for example, I don't drink coffee, right? People say coffee is good. Okay, it's good for you. That's fine. Drink coffee. I'm not going to oppose to it, but right. I decide to quit coffee, for example. I don't drink alcohol, right? People say, well, what's the point of living if you don't drink alcohol? Well, if that's what you want to do, then you do that. Right, that's fine. Yeah. But
right. If it aligns to what you care about.
So I don't. So for me, is regardless, because I know my core values. Peer pressure doesn't work that well on me.
Right.
Because I will refuse to do whatever I don't think it's good. The only way you get to me from me doing it, you have to try to convince me, persuade me in some way, which is like what you do most of the time, right? You don't forcibly, you know, tell me to do something, but you have a way of making me understand your point of view. and that's the only way to get to me. And
Right.
I'm that kind of person, and I would love it that when I pass on from this world, that's what people see of me. That's the image I want to project. That's the true person I want to exude. I want people to see that now and when I pass away.
Love it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the thing that you and I are most aligned on around how we want to live our life, whether or not we have a different brand or, you know, image in our head of, you know, what life, the rest of our lives look like, and what the impression we want to leave with others. I think what we're both aligned on, and 100%, is we want the ability to choose whatever that is, you know, like, I mean,
Right.
and I think that's the big key. I mean, that's really this whole entire search for this whole entire year of magical learning is choosing the path that you want to live, you know, and understanding why you chose that path, you know.
Yes.
It's like it's a quest for learning about what like the title will say. It's, you know, 365 reflections of values, your purpose, and overcoming, you know, for me it was overcoming loss and you know, and enduring, right, you know.
Right.
So like that's what this whole journey is about, though. But it's all comes down to choosing, you know, having the ability to understand and choose your path. I know we
Right.
don't have a lot of choice in so many things in this world, but you damn sure have a choice in what you care about, and then what actions you perform around those things. Nobody can take that from you. I mean, like, I don't care what somebody wants to say. Nobody can take the ability for me to never quit on something that I care about. Like, they just can't take it from me. Like, I mean,
Right.
it'll never change, you know. So that's the most important thing, is like, own it. Like, you know, choose your path.
Right. Because the thing is, when
yeah.
you really know and you really understand, most of the effort and the actions you do, it's going to be pointing towards that goal that you have.
Right.
Right. That means that everything you do is a compound, and it's going to have a huge impact in the long run. But if you don't have it, you basically going in circles.
Right.
And you're going to bounce wherever things gonna push you. So whatever. So if you have a goal, and to me, the biggest and the most important ingredient is understanding it, understanding that your core values and the ability to choose it is going to create a much like we talked about yesterday. You know, if you know your values, right, and you're passionate about something, the things you do may seem hard for other people, but for you, it's easy.
It's effortless. Yeah, I mean, well, it's not effortless. It's fun. Like,
I mean,
yeah.
imagine, you know, how many books are you on right now? Have you written so far?
Somewhere like 215 maybe, or
Exactly.
something like that. Yeah.
Every single day you've written a book, you written a reflection, right? Based on a book. And how many books have you read, and how many books have I read, right?
What? Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane if you think about it, right? And that's what I'm saying is, for us, it's not like we put a lot of effort into it. We just say, hey, you know, we're just gonna pick up a book, right? Read for 30 minutes to an hour or whatever every day, and look at where it takes us. I mean, I'm not like, okay, my only job is to go to the library and read all day from
Right. If
sun
that was
up
my
to
job, I would
sundown.
hate it. I mean, if you actually
Right.
made that my job, I would hate it, because I'd be like, look, you're telling me what to do. I'm done for the day. Like,
But
I
the thing
got
is,
what I
you
wanted to
think
get out
about
of
the
it, you know?
cumulative effort, right? People would think that you would have to have that as a full-time job to get to this amount of accumulations,
Right.
you know. But the point I'm trying to make is, we're not doing that at all. That's just a little blip in our day.
Right.
Right. And
Agreed.
so if you had a goal and you understand what your goals are, whatever you do, whatever action you do, is going to add to that compound effect. And you're gonna be surprised the end benefit you're gonna amass. You're gonna amass something huge that you can be surprised on, that it's gonna come to that amount. And so having an understanding is the biggest part, and then having the ability to choose it, right, to me, makes it so much easier to do.
1,000% agreed. Somebody just popped into our. Should we let him in? He's a little late. His name's
We're almost
Larry.
done.
Yeah. Well, we could at least we can at least welcome him. We can end now, I guess, if you want to, and we can welcome him.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it for today, and we will resume our next episode tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to connecting with everybody, and something to think about for yourself is what's your personal brand, and what's the lasting legacy you want to leave on others when you meet them. So yeah, love to hear about it. Comment in the comments, and yeah, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Ciao.